guns. Jesus,
Go, please.
The names Logan and Aaron may not stir up visions of daring adventure seekers, but do you know about these American tourists' brush with death at the hands of one of Mexico's most ruthless cartels? When gunmen tried intercepting the pair along a remote countryside road in 2021, the infamous gang launched a terrifying display of force to intimidate the young travelers. The stunning confrontation revealed the immense power drug cartels wield across Mexico's border regions. Logan and Aaron slipped away that day, shaken to the core, but they returned home with sobering warnings for anyone daring to explore off the beaten path in cartel territory. Today, we'll uncover Logan and Aaron's harrowing near-death experience after innocently venturing into the grip of a merciless cartel crew, and we'll see why no one, not even wandering backpackers, are beyond the long reach of the cartels dominating Mexico's lawless borderlands.
This was definitely my first trip to Mexico and my first trip out of the country. I was there to see birds and experience the scenery and wildlife that they have there, and we did a lot of it.
Logan and Aaron were on their first trip to Mexico. It was also Logan's first time leaving the United States.
Mexico has a lot to offer. There's a lot. There's deserts, there's mountains, there's oceans. It depends on what part of Mexico you're in. We saw a lot of incredible stuff in Mexico.
They went to Mexico to see birds and experience the scenery and wildlife there. Mexico has a lot to offer with deserts, mountains, and oceans. Logan and Aaron saw a lot of incredible things on their trip to Mexico.
Well, we chose the road that we were on because I was seeing a lot of marshlands around, and I knew that there'd be wading birds that I'd never seen in America, and I felt like this was a good opportunity to hop off really quickly and see some birds that on a road that we can slow down off or pull off on.
They chose the road they were on because Aaron had seen a lot of marshlands around. He knew there would be wading birds he had never seen in America before.
I felt safe up until, I could see in my rearview mirror someone flying up on me, and that's when I really started to get a little bit nervous and wonder what is going on with this guy or this vehicle.
For the most part, Aaron felt safe in Mexico. Of course, he had heard stories and things, so there was always something in the back of his mind where maybe something bad could happen. But everyone they talked to was friendly, so Logan and Aaron really started getting comfortable. The two men documented their trip along the way, filming scenes of the countryside and videotaping their drive through different regions of Mexico. They were near a town in Mexico when they decided to take a shortcut down a remote dirt road. Almost immediately, they realized they had made a mistake. The road was barely more than a rutted track filled with rocks and deep divots. They jounced along at about 20 miles per hour, getting more uneasy by the minute. The atmosphere soon began to change, and it started to get more intense when Aaron noticed a vehicle racing up from behind. His stomach dropped with the realization that something was very wrong. They were bouncing slowly along the ragged road, so for another car to be moving 3 times, their speed could only mean trouble. Logan still clung to the fragile hope it was just an impatient local, but soon even he understood they were in imminent danger. As the truck pulled alongside them, they could see armed men in the back glaring at them menacingly. In a brief but horrifying instant, Aaron found himself staring straight into the dark abyss of a gun barrel pointed at his head. Sheer panic flooded his senses. Aaron threw the car into reverse while screaming for Logan to
Go.
No. Every fiber of his being screamed at him to escape what was undoubtedly a life or death confrontation. But the sunk-in finality that they were hopeless to outrun bullets compelled Aaron to slam the brakes. If they had any chance at surviving, it was to submit and plead for their lives. Thankfully, they stopped even though Aaron had started to back up the car. However, later on, we understand that something inside made him stop. He thinks it was because the man in the pursuing truck put his hand up with his gun pointed at them, motioning for them to stop. Aaron knew if he kept reversing, he would have been shot multiple times by the men. He realized he couldn't outrun a bullet. Aaron felt he had to stop and see what would happen, hoping for some reason they wouldn't fire yet. They were at the whim of mysterious masked gunmen, unable to even speak the same language. The locals gesticulated and yelled what Aaron and Logan could only interpret as demands not to move, or they would be killed. Hyperventilating breaths and pounding heartbeats marked each second they waited for guns to end their lives. Logan looked down the barrel of one of the guns. He felt his life was over at that moment. He was sure no one would ever hear what happened to them. All these thoughts were rushing through his mind. It was really scary. Aaron's heart was pounding as he looked down the barrel of a gun held by one of the men. He was sure this was the end, that they would be killed any moment. Logan also feared they would be executed on the spot in this remote area. The gunman yelled at them in Spanish. Aaron and Logan could only pick out the words, "No problem." Terror gripped them both as the pursuers surrounded their car, leveling assault rifles toward the windows. Having heard warnings of cartel ambushes, Logan and Aaron feared they would be robbed and executed roadside, their van abandoned, with bodies inside. Logan recounted making eye contact with the staring barrel, believing his life would end then and there. Aaron beside him. The cartel enforcers yelled at them in rapid Spanish, which neither Logan nor Aaron understood, beyond scattered words like problem. The cartel crew interrogated the petrified Americans, demanding identification and information. With death still seeming imminent, Logan felt his body begin to shut down in shock. Meanwhile, Aaron begged for mercy. They explained why they were so far off the beaten path, to find birds to photograph. When the men told them everything was okay, Logan's mind was racing. He was relieved. They said it was okay, but part of him still didn't believe it. His body kind of shut down from the extreme fear and stress. There was still a lot of fear at that moment, even though the men said it was no problem. After having guns held in their faces and thinking they were going to die, it was hard for Logan and Aaron to really feel safe again so quickly. Aaron did his best to hide his terror while speaking to the gunman as best he could. The gunman reassured the Americans that they were not in danger. "No problem, no problem," one of them kept saying. They even shook hands, but Aaron was not convinced the danger had passed. The moments with guns in their faces were the most terrifying of their lives. Both braced for the men to shoot them at any second. The language barrier made it hard to understand, but the men communicated for them to leave the road or they'd be killed by others ahead. They said this while gesturing a throat signal. Overwhelmed with relief, they hurriedly tried to start the car, but Aaron was so traumatized that he couldn't drive properly. His whole body started shaking and his hands clenched up, almost like a seizure.
Oh my God, I'm gonna pass out.
You're okay. You're okay. You're okay. You're okay. Here, you need your medicine?
No.
Here, take Aaron.
Sí, no problem, no problem. Mira, me no.
Here, Aaron, take your pills.
No, it's fine.
Here, just pretend. Okay. Here, take it. Now, put it under your tongue.
With panic going through their entire body, Aaron and Logan were too stunned to do anything. Aaron was on the verge of passing out, and to calm him down, Logan gave him his medication for anxiety. Still shocked by everything and unable to drive, Aaron got out of the car for some fresh air to be able to feel his body again. Surprisingly, one of the gunmen hugged Aaron for a moment to comfort him and tell him that it was going to be okay.
Yeah, it was an extremely tense moment for us, and I was thinking that they could change their mind at any moment and say, hey, let's just take these guys out. They're annoying, or this is getting old, and it's a lot easier to take a bullet than to let someone go.
They wanted to get out of there as fast as possible once the men said they could go. As soon as they started driving, Logan and Aaron sped as fast as they could until they reached the highway again. They went straight to a hotel in a nearby city and stayed there for the night. The nightmare spooked them for the rest of the trip. They were really scared from that point on, like putting chairs against the hotel door at night. They couldn't even sleep at night.
After they said I could go, I stayed for, I wanted to leave. Logan wanted me to leave, but I literally could not control my body for a second. It was weird.
Aaron thought if he kept reversing, he wouldn't be alive today. He's not exactly sure what changed to make them spare their lives. He just wanted to get out of there as soon as possible and forget the whole thing ever happened. He felt a little safer in the tourist area than he did out on the remote roads. After what happened with the gunmen stopping them, Aaron and Logan felt they couldn't get back to America safely.
I'd say to anyone thinking about taking their car into Mexico, it's probably not a good idea. If you want to avoid any types of trouble, just don't do it. It's way safer to fly in and get taxis everywhere.
They were in a dangerous area and didn't want to risk driving through roads like that again.
I felt like we couldn't get back safely. We were in a dangerous area after everything that happened. Logan's car, I felt like we needed to just leave the car. Some people talked us in, some friends back in the States talked to us, just leave the car, we'll worry about that. Just get home and fly home.
Some people they knew convinced them to just leave their car behind in Mexico, so Logan and Aaron decided to fly home and abandon their vehicle, since it wasn't worth driving through risky areas again.
Well, to get my vehicle back, I've tried to explore lots of avenues, shipping companies, places that will haul my vehicle for me, and nothing's really panned out.
To try to get his car back, Logan explored lots of options like shipping companies and vehicle transport services, but nothing really panned out. It was extremely expensive and difficult, with all the legal issues involved in transporting a vehicle from Mexico to the United States. Logan was constantly working every single day, still trying to find a way to get his car back. They had also learned of a possibility through some mutual friends, but there were still lots of risks, so it's not guaranteed Logan would ever see his car again. Eventually, with the help of their friends, Aaron was able to get some money to bring his car back to him.
I would like to say to the ones who did spare my life, thank you. Thank you for sparing both of our lives. Your country is an amazing country, and I enjoyed myself. And again, thank you for not killing me.
The video has just gone viral in 2022. Maybe those gunmen could have just been a patrol car trying to capture drug cartels. But unfortunately, the mystery may never even be solved. While this particular story ended in relief, countless travelers, including Americans, have not been so lucky when crossing paths with Mexico's ruthless cartels. Other documented cases showcase these heavily armed gangs, showing no worry or unease, eliminating innocents they viewed as threats or meddlers in their territory. Several American tourists were kidnapped in Mexico while seeking medical care. Tragically, some were killed. Cartels and gang violence are serious issues in parts of Mexico. The risks are real, especially for visitors unfamiliar with the areas. However, many Mexicans are warm, welcoming people, not involved in crime. Focusing on positive cultural exchange and understanding could help address the roots of violence. There are no easy answers, but we must have compassion for all people affected on both sides of the border. A 27-year-old San Diego man named Taylor Meyer was on a birthday trip in Mexico when he was brutally stabbed to death by a knife-wielding drug dealer in Playa del Carmen. Taylor was just walking back from a club with friends when they were approached and attacked. The murderer was apparently high on drugs at the time. An American doctor vacationing in Turks and Caicos was shot to death by armed gunmen while returning from an excursion. The suspected gunman shot at a car holding a tourist, a fathering veteran, and VP of a local NACP. These types of attacks can happen even at idyllic island destinations. Another case was when a group of 4 Americans crossed the border from Texas into Mexico for cosmetic surgery procedures. The area they visited is a contested territory between warring drug cartels. Shortly after arriving, their SUV was ambushed by cartel members. 2 of the Americans were kidnapped and later found murdered. The other 2 Americans barely escaped with their lives. Apparently, the cartel mistook the Americans for a rival gang. It was a case of being in the wrong place at the wrong time. The victims had driven over 1,500 miles to get discount plastic surgery in Mexico. Medical tourism has been booming as Americans seek cheaper options abroad for everything from dental work to weight loss surgery. But this tragedy highlighted the inherent risks of traveling to dangerous border towns despite the lure of low costs. The cartel allegedly sent an apology letter for the mistake, but the damage was done. The families of the victims were shattered by the brutal, random murders. Some U.S. politicians called for a military response, though experts said a crackdown would only lead to more bloodshed on both sides. The U.S. State Department issued a Level 4, do not travel, advisory for the Mexican border city of Tijuana due to crime and kidnapping. Tijuana is right across the border from San Diego, California, and sees millions of American tourists every year who are unaware of the rampant violence in certain areas. The State Department also warned against traveling to the Mexican state of Zacatecas due to widespread cartel fighting and violence. The northern state has become a battleground between various drug trafficking groups vying for control. Shootouts happen regularly on city streets and highways. Bodies are left hanging from bridges as a warning. Extortion of local businesses is rampant as well. Americans driving through Zacatecas have been carjacked, kidnapped, or gotten caught in deadly crossfire. It's simply too perilous for foreign tourists. An American woman was shot dead, and she got caught in between a crossfire. This incident took place at a very popular Mexican resort beach at Tulum. Tourists may romanticize Mexico's culture and natural beauty, but the situation on the ground is fluid and potentially life-threatening. Cancun is known as one of Mexico's safest tourist destinations with its posh resorts and white sand beaches. However, a spike in violent crime in recent years shocked many American tourists who never imagined Cancun could be dangerous. 6 members of a violent drug gang have been arrested in Cancun. in connection with gruesome murders where the victims were dismembered with machetes. 5 bodies were found in a taxi, while 3 more victims were later found dumped in a shallow grave. The gang was protected by motorcycle taxi drivers and minors acting as lookouts. Separately, 23 people were arrested for running a fake tour agency as a front for selling drugs in Cancun. The agency used a call center and motorcycle couriers to conduct drug deals. Similarly, 4 men were killed in Cancun, Mexico, near a beachside hotel, in violence likely linked to ongoing rivalry between drug cartels, according to authorities. The killings occurred during the busy Easter vacation week when Cancun sees many tourists. Officials say a local cartel boss, Hector Flores Aceves, aka the Panther, was involved in the murders. Aceves has been implicated in previous deadly attacks at Cancun bars and territorial disputes with a rival Sinaloa cartel faction. Cartels and tourist zones fight over control of drug sales to foreigners. While tourism continues relatively unabated, Cancun has seen increased violence and extortion by criminal groups capitalizing on the steady flow of foreigners with money to spend. The incidents highlighted how organized crime has seeped into Cancun's tourist zones, putting unwitting foreign visitors at risk. No place in Mexico is completely safe from the reach of the cartels. So, while many countries seem perfectly safe, dangers like gang violence, robberies gone wrong, and random assaults do exist almost everywhere. What happened to the tourists in Mexico who were spared could easily have gone the other way. Tourists should research local security threats and exercise extreme caution, even in countries rated as very safe travel destinations. These tragic cases join thousands of missing person reports centralized along known smuggling routes, highlighting the true depths of cruelty defining the Mexican cartels. Most chilling are the cases of mistaken identity, when ordinary travelers cross unknowingly into cartel turf, only to face interrogation from hair-triggered sicarios wielding battle rifles. Logan and Aaron escaped this outcome by pure luck, spared by split-second decisions of nameless gunmen who melted back into the bush. Their video footage documents a rare first-hand look into domination by violence perfected to science across Mexico's border regions. Tourists now better understand the realities coexisting beneath postcard images of beaches and pyramids. The terrified Americans serve as unwitting spokesmen regarding a raging crisis going largely unaddressed. Their story symbolizes the immense challenges facing Mexican authorities, combating wealthy, heavily militarized trafficking groups, holding influence over entire states. These ultra-violent shows act with more capability than the police forces opposing them, using raw intimidation to control local populations under threat of gruesome torture and death. Brave witnesses like Logan and Aaron bring international attention to the complex factors allowing the cartels to operate with high impunity. Their experience highlights how vulnerable foreign visitors remain unaware of the hazards involved when exploring rugged rural zones contested by traffickers, and they confirm Mexico's most menacing outlaws hold enough power to demonstrate confrontations like theirs as warnings, reminding government forces how outclassed they remain. The reality of cartel reach means tourists should take precautions and remain vigilant even at resort destinations like Cancun and Cabo. Visitor abductions still occur, fueled by various motivations, from ransom to retribution. Ultimately, Logan and Aaron survived through luck and quick submission, disparate reactions saving them from further aggression. Their compliance likely signaled harmless sightseers rather than undercover agents or enemies. Though never feeling fully safe even after release, the duo learned firsthand that cartel authority overrides law itself in many regions. Now dedicated to warning others, they share their experience so the next curious travelers don't wander unprepared into the heart of darkness. Logan and Aaron's shocking brush with Mexico's ruthless cartels has forever changed them, and their haunting experience serves as a chilling reminder of the often unseen dangers tourists face roaming unfamiliar foreign lands far from home. The masked gunmen that terrify travelers along Mexico's remote border roads have proven they wield fearsome power in the lawless countryside, unchecked by overwhelmed or corrupt authorities, and they've shown no mercy, allowing innocents like Logan and Aaron to either slip through their lethal web unscathed or join the nameless masses in the desert's cold ground. Do you think the cruel cartels dominating Mexico's borderlands will continue their undefeated reign of terror? Or will growing economic harms and pressure from activist groups spark meaningful change so more tourists can explore safely? Let us know your thoughts on the security in Mexico's cartel badlands, where visitors' lives hang on the whims of heavily armed young gunmen. Share your perspectives on the tragic stories from Logan, Aaron, and so many other travelers changed forever by Mexico's unavoidable underworld lurking just out of sight.